I thought I'd introduce a project I've been working on for the last few years. I'm almost done. This is started as just as an experiment, but basically at a junk shop, we bought this really big, thick, quite large. It's a ledger from, as you can see, the Farmers Fire Insurance Co. from York, Pennsylvania. This is probably from the 1930s, possibly into the 40s, but so pretty old book. And what I started to do was just use it as there's a bunch of pages here at the beginning that are alphabetized. I didn't start there. The pages are all numbered, so I thought I'd start on the numbered pages. And so I thought I'd start by using it. Oh, I actually started at page 0. Up here, I numbered it myself. But so I just thought I would use it as kind of a sketchbook, kind of a project book. I liked the fact that the pages are already, like I say, it's a ledger, so the pages are lined for doing kind of accounting or notation of expenses, that sort of thing. This is obviously all for like insurance policies. So what I've done is over the years, so this is the first drawing here. This is called Kestrel. This is March 14th, 2020. So, and today is something. What is the date today? It's the middle of September 2023. So I've just sort of been picking away at this, like doing bits and pieces here and there. And the style can kind of be anything. It's I'll spend a little bit longer into these. The style can be, I call most of what I do drawing. So some of these things I are really drawing. Some of them are painting. Some of them are collage. And I really like some of them, and I really don't like some of them. But that doesn't really matter too much to me. This whole book, this using this old kind of 90-ish year old book, the whole idea was just to experiment and just use sort of a non someone else might think, I guess, that this old book is sort of precious, but to me it felt, maybe it felt precious before I started making marks in it. But then I thought, well, once I started making those marks, some of that preciousness went away, and it was something about the fact that this isn't a nice sketchbook. This isn't a book made for drawing. This is an old. The pages are actually quite crispy and crumbly, and I often will break through them or tear the pages quite easily because the paper is so old. Um, but that's helpful because it's, like I say, this was a project about sort of just drawing in itself, trying to draw, making marks, and kind of making choices and decisions as I go along. So I never have, most of my drawing is like this really, but especially in this case, there's never a plan. I just sort of start somewhere and whatever happens, happens. So in this, I believe in this case, way back, this is April 2nd, 2020. I think I put in this text initially, and then just started putting color. Often there's a lot of scribbling, a lot of paint, kind of scraping with the, tools like this, like just household kind of tools. And then a lot of repeating kind of themes, a lot of circles, a lot of text that comes from various places, either that pops into my head or that I just pull out of books that are nearby. And a lot of use of miscellaneous materials, paint, pencils, paper, old letter in some of these cases. So sometimes the text will be kind of more formed and typographic like this, and other times the text is like, so here's some hand drawn, still fairly typographic in this case, but then occasionally it'll also be just rougher kind of text that I just draw on myself. So we're still in 2020 here. I did quite a few of these were done quite rapid fire, even some in the same kind of days. Like this is April 10th. This is also April 10th. So just in one night, probably, I jumped in, did a few of them. Then April 12th. And in terms of text and thinking, that sort of thing, I don't, like I say, the drawings kind of come spontaneously. I don't really think about what they're going to be. And sometimes I make mistakes, if you can make mistakes in drawing. And other times things feel like kind of breakthroughs. And then, like, this one, I really like this part of it, but I actually don't like the rest of the drawing. So it's strange that how those things go. And then kind of turn the page. This is April 16th, April 19th. This one feels like, oh, okay, there's something really interesting happened here, because I made a bunch of, you can't really see it below here, but I made a bunch of taped marks that I used as a resist and then peeled them off, and that formed this sort of geometry in here that was interesting to me. Um, and then this one is very, seems simple, but there's a lot of layering, a lot of layering. A lot of times I'll overlayer, I'll draw too much, but occasionally that works out. Like, I actually kind of like the fact that this is kind of drawn on top of itself over and over and over again, and the words are sometimes meaningful in the terms of the drawing and sometimes feel just like an associative sort of thing. All right, so I'll just flip through a few more of these. There we go, more collage happening here, a lot more collage happening. Sometimes very simple like this one. This one almost feels to me almost unfinished, but I still like it. This big shapes, and I like the text. This one here is interesting because hard to see, but there's a big circle here, and it's actually kind of covering up, I believe if I remember this correctly, it's kind of covering up a mistake. So I just cut out this big existing circle of, I think this was a page that I had just wiped a bunch of paint on, so I cut the circle out and put it on top. Also very kind of minimal and no text, which is surprising to me when I don't end up writing anything at all. And here's another one, no text, but lots going on. This is a thick page because there's a lot of collage paper with paint over top, and then even more layering. I have some recurring, obviously, like I said, I use circles a lot in my drawing. So it's like I've got like circle templates like this and like this, where I'll reuse the same kind of circle shapes and sizes quite frequently. And then other times, like this is hand drawn, or I think I did a circle template and used it as a kind of stencil to get those shapes. But so sometimes the circles feel representational or figurative, like this feels like it's about space or something, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. I quite like this one. This is called Arms. And yeah, this almost gets figurative because these are kind of literally limbs coming through, all the kind of robotic maybe. And then other times things feel, I think in a lot of my abstract drawing like this, there's a lot of things that feel like kind of map making to me, and other times things feel like they are represent, like I did this whole series. There's no particular running series in this book, but occasionally there'll be a trend, like this one's machines. I've a lot of things that are called, so this is machines that do nothing. And I've got a few others. Maybe I'll point out the machines as they come, but sometimes they're just very minimal. And this is, I think I was just trying out some new watercolors in this case. And again, I think this has some, this one has watercolor, but then this is also acorn ink, I think, or something like that. I forget, there's like I was testing out, same here. And this also has some interesting like wax resist stuff going on. Oh, more, now here's real figurative, and again, kind of arms. This is kinematics. So you can see here there's an actual robotic, like fist. There's some skeletal forms here. It's still very abstracted, but oh yeah, I was really into doing the kind of crayon wax resist here. So it's like white crayon paint over top, and then okay, here's a machine. So this is a machine for repeating mistakes. Some of them take this literal kind of form of like I'll use these kind of screw shapes and that sort of thing. Repeating. There's another machine for destroying machines. I, I quite like this one. This is also Machine. This is Machine for ranking sunsets. I was kind of thinking about social media when I did this one. So it's kind of like that repetitive, like, just tapping, making that heart on a picture kind of thing. It's like as if this complicated machine was doing the same sort of thing. I ended up not. I like the middle part of this one, but I actually don't like that I made it so specifically almost like this tablet form with a USB cable and a switch. I got a little too specific, I found, like in that case. This one feels like really like a mapping. What was it, this one? Oh, this one's a machine for I put a machine for capturing lightning, crossed it out, understanding lightning. The titles just come when I'm done, basically, and oftentimes they're related to words I've written down, and sometimes they're just whatever reflection I have. Again, this one's very much like a machine, but I like this one a lot. I'm very fond of very bright kind of neon colors mixed in with other kind of more never somber. Like I like darks and lights playing together, I guess. Fairly figurative. For a while, unrelated to this book, I was doing kind of sea and sky kind of landscapes, often abstracted. I did a bunch digitally and also a bunch of really small watercolors, these little 3x3 watercolors. This one feels unusual for me too, but just in terms of the kind of forms I do. This one feels very finished to me. That I often find that the use of circles is it's kind of a grounding, like there's a lot of motion going on, and then the circles kind of ground those forms down. You can see kind of color trends that I go through in these in certain ways. There was a kind of a big jump here. I started in 2020, and then I kind of put this, a lot of things were going on. So 2021, this is into 2022 now. In our lives, many things happen in the time. So sometimes this book went away, and I was working on smaller things because it was, I won't get into it, but it was easier to do that. There's kind of a literal, occasionally something like this sneaks into my work. I do like drawing representationally, but I find I'm harder on myself when I do stuff like that. So drawing in abstraction is better for me, I guess, emotionally. I like these drawings really are kind of a therapy. Sometimes that therapy is just the physical, like the scribbling, the getting out of like the physical release, and other times it's working through something specific. Quite like this one. This one too. I think this one, occasionally they get very kind of specific and graphic like this. Like, I could see certain of them being like album covers or something like that, but they don't really have any, formal purpose when I'm making them. This one a bit figurative again, because obviously I'm playing with kind of tree trunk forms, branches, that sort of thing. I forget how this started. I think I drew these dark shapes first and then worked with that. Bit of a landscape happening here. Water again and sky working its way in. Sometimes a lot of this sort of stuff, a lot of planetary, literally spatial things happening. This one's actually called Asynchronous Orbit. big collage. This is a piece of player piano sheet that I've heavily drawn and painted on top of. I just love the perforations on those sheets. Just form such a, I don't know, just a beautiful kind of art matrix on their own that really nice to work with. a recurring thing. I've got a big stack of really old target practice papers. I don't really like anything to do with guns, but the again, the graphic form of that is really interesting. And here's another one of those player piano. Like you can see the nice thing about the perforations that the color just pops right out from behind. So you can do either things that are kind of look like they're going back or things that look like they're going forward. Another one of those targets there. Some big neons here. Little bits of, this is a comment. I have a friend, Aaron, who he sort of, I think I saw him using in some of his work the inside of security envelopes like this, especially this one that's, I forget the name of this particular it's like particular kind of noise that's optically generated, this stuff. Anyway, it makes a nice kind of neutral but alive kind of gray shape. Lots of bits of collage creeping in here. More targets, more circles. Little bits of collage paper that I've made myself, just like spray painting on various scrap papers and then cutting them up, collaging them. Galen and I did a bit of that recently with some new colors of spray paint, and I'll start incorporating that stuff soon. And this book, I'm actually still, I'm at page 87, and this book has 148 pages, and I'll flip through till the end here, but I'm at 143, so I'm nearing the end of this book, and I've got some other books in line to keep on going after this. Started doing, this is 2022, but I've started doing a bunch of this sort of drawn on grid stuff recently. This is kind of machine based, but I didn't call it a machine. This is not actually a player piano sheet. It's actually it's spray paint through one of those sheets. This one has some old photos of mine that I cut up and collaged. Oh, even more so, this page is actually really thick and chunky because of the collage paper. Lots of messy. I apparently titled this one X. I don't know whether, I think that was just like the aggression, emotion of this one, adjustment and feelings. Yeah, sometimes there's just a lot of line work. Well, there's often a lot of line work that behind, even the ones that feel actually kind of simpler and graphic, there's a lot of scribbling. I'll often just take like a pencil and scribble all over the place. Just for the kind of, it's the action of that line to have a lot of motion and depth. That doesn't necessarily mean anything or represent anything, but just to have that kind of physical motion, but also just the rhythm. Ooh, this one's really feels kind of chaotic and funny that it says take time. Oof. Yeah, see, this is where I get into like one of these ones where I don't like it as a drawing, but I guess I'm glad that I made it. And I've got agree to disagree here. Oh, actually, I've entitled that one Maybe the Next Time, which is, here we go. So it's, did I take a pause here? Yeah, December into January. This is the first one of 2023, and I quite like this one. So Really, I I really like whenever I use this kind of orange, pink, and yellow combination together. It's oftentimes it works out the best. But then here's something that's kind of odd color wise for me, but works. But then, like you see here, pink, orange, yellow, and then this sort of like deep blue that comes in is nice. Bit of Letraset. This one looks like it's American flaggy. That was accidental, but then I did write flag, and then I called this flag unfurled. So there's nothing intentional about that, but few of the last few bunch of the text for these came from we've got a bunch of these old 70s childcraft encyclopedias, and they've got everything's great about them, but a lot of the writing and a lot of the titles for sections in there are interesting. So some of the text in the last few here, this one, are pulled directly. They're titles for sections or subsections in those books. Um, and sometimes that's just uh, sometimes I'll start with words, and the words will sort of form the basis of the rest of it. Other times the words come completely at the end. Like in this case, I had drawn this whole grid, and then I started adding words inside of it. I don't know how well you can see that, but like in something like this, I probably wrote those later on. I've started using, I've got this little, I don't know how you see that. It's a little kind of template like these circle forms. I have a template that has a few, they're like engineering diagram symbols. This one to me looks like a price tag. So I've often been using that with words inside. I don't know why, just interesting, but. It's desert scape of some sort, not, and it's a map of your room. Again, like I said, I think earlier, a lot of them end up feeling map-like or have a connection to maps or place. This is a new, so we're up here, and this is August of this year, so not that long ago. So I've started doing this sort of grid form, but then with semicircles inside the grid form. Started a little bit from there's a few people I know who do this recurring kind of scale or armor kind of form, and sometimes that I find myself creeping in drawing that, but then it made me kind of do this more graphic version of that, almost like each scale is broken out. No real reason for that. It's just things that happen. You can see I'm repeating it here. These are bits of spray paint kind of collage papers that I made with, so it's actual plant, used it as a resist, and then spraying paint over the top. But just nice textures to work with as a starting point. More grid drawing. More of that player piano. More of this. More grids, more dots. And there we are so far. So page 144, and like I said, there are, yes, page 148 is going to be the last page in here. So I've just got a few more to go, and I'm sure I will get that done before the end of the year, and then that'll mean that this as a project will be a final thing, a big kind of, I don't know, it's kind of neat even just to see it like this. It kind of bursts open because of all the collage and the drawings and the paint have made it quite thick. But I don't know, it's an interesting, I don't know what I'll do with this I mean to document it properly in some way. Videos like this are helping me do that, but um, part of it is just figuring out, yeah, do I take really good pictures of all of these or some of these? Do I make prints from them? Do I even take them out of the book? Not really sure. Anyway, thanks for watching.